Hello and welcome to Art, Creativity, and Well-Being. This is the show where we are always working to support you in giving as much care and love for yourself as you are accustomed to giving for others. I'm Kay Cope. I am a coach, I'm a facilitator, I'm a creator, and I am a thru hiker who used to need a wheelchair. The journey back from that wheelchair to through hiking and beyond really was the journey of bringing as much care and love for myself as I was accustomed to bringing for others. So we come by this knowledge honestly here at Art, Creativity, and Wellbeing Headquarters. It's great to see you. I'm glad you're here with me and glad to be here with you. I am getting this out a little late today. I have been traveling. I just got back from visiting my family in Colorado and having lots of fun out there. And now I am getting in here to share a quickie. This is really an idea that has been developing, oh gosh, over years or even decades, but I saw it in a new way really, really recently. In fact, while I was away, and I saw it for myself. And I thought, I wonder if this would be useful for you. So I figured I will bring it to you, and we'll see what you think. It is about it is about looking for verbs and realizing what clues verbs give us about someone's behavior, someone's curiosities, someone's interests. And it actually came about because I was reflecting on what really what my life has become in these last several years as I've been bringing attention to well-being in a new way. And it also brought me right back to when I was an early childhood educator, which is really where the roots of my education and work were and are. I was a preschool teacher for, a decade, and I had such a good time doing that, and I learned so much. Boy, if you ever, if you really want a lesson in humility, that's what's in my head. Go spend some time with young children. 'Cause they will teach you. Certainly, they taught me a lot, and I appreciate the lessons. And this was an important one to look for the verbs when a child was misbehaving. And this was something that this actually came up on my show, gosh, when this show was called We Turned Out Okay, and it was for parents of young children especially. I interviewed some early childhood professors, like as in professors of early childhood education. And so somewhere back in the archives is a great interview with these two women who who the verbs came in for them too. And really what it's about is if a child is misbehaving, see what the verbs are. What are they doing? Like for information, not for judgment's sake, but really just to be curious about what is it that they're doing. So I can remember one of the early childhood professors gave this example of if a child is throwing things in the classroom, you know, yes, it's not okay to throw a lot of things that one comes across in a classroom, but the verb is throwing. So can we give this child something that they can throw that will be okay? And I remember this professor talking about an area of their classroom that was the dramatic play area, and or the maybe it was even the books. It's gosh, it's pre-COVID. We're probably talking 2018 or 2017 that I had this conversation, so a bit ago. And anyway, what she referenced was they got balls of yarn and light things, scarves, things like that, that this child could throw in the classroom because where they were in their development was wanting to be throwing things. So I sort of I took this idea for myself when I was away. And because I got to reflecting on how I used to spend my time in my sort of stressed out days of developing the illness that eventually caused me to be super challenged with walking, that caused me to not have almost any use of my hands, and these things that are still lasting today. What did that? What those verbs were was worrying, um, stressing out, like being stressed out, um, things like that, and not paying attention to what was happening in my body, and the result of all of that was this illness that I still live with today, this tendon condition, and how when I was small, the verbs were very different. They weren't worry, they weren't stress, they weren't ill-being at all. They were very, there was a huge broad range of verbs for me, right? What comes to top of mind is running, walking, hiking, skiing, singing, laughing, talking, connecting, hugging, um, and more, And it's interesting how those verbs have come back into my life as an adult. Um, as an adult that put down worrying and stress, at least for the most part. I certainly am not perfect at that, but I have a much more enjoyable life now because I have brought my attention to the verbs that light me up. And so these days it's still hiking, it's still movement, it's still skiing, it's still walking, it's still dancing, it's still singing, it's still connecting and talking and listening. I would say listening is a newer one, and so is creating. Although I did create as a kid, but I brought judgment upon myself from a really early age. I remember being at like a summer camp, like a day camp or something. It was at school when I was a second grader, so I think it was the summer between second grade and third grade. And I grabbed a container of red finger paint. And to shake it up, I didn't think about the cover. I grabbed the sides of it, and so I went to shake it up, and red paint went all over me. And I can remember that my mom apparently had to like she was called because I was just absolutely inconsolable. I was apparently very worried that I was going to be in big trouble because I had got red paint all over myself and my clothes or something like that. And my mom was like, I didn't understand that. But that is one very early memory that I have of like sort of self-censorship of thinking I was going to be able to create and then not being able to, or something happened that caused me, or there were other instances. I'm sure everybody has these, right? Where you're wanting to do something and there's an authority figure that's like, nope, that's not what it's time for now, or whatever. And so we sort of learned to put aside those verbs that we really enjoyed. And it's been a delight to return to them. So painting is definitely one of my favorite verbs for myself these days, as is, oh gosh, talking and movement and all the other things. But I've been thinking, just today, I've been thinking on how those were the things that used to get me into trouble. You know, I spent my whole third grade year sitting face into the blackboard because I was too talkative for that teacher, for that class. And so that was the discipline, was I wasn't allowed to sit with my friends. I had to be sitting alone with the blackboard a foot from my face. Um, and I think I don't share any of that to sort of in a pitying way. I think those are the things that I've overcome to be really who I am. I mean, we all have these things kind of in our pasts that can, stop us if we let them from really showing up for ourselves fully. And so this exercise of looking at the verbs feels like it is an exercise of reclaiming something for ourselves and reconnecting with something special that is us and that is in us. And that's what I wanted to bring to you today. Just a curiosity about what are your verbs? What are the things that did used to perhaps get you into trouble? And if you gave them some rain, how might they translate into a really good life for you right now? Or even how are they translating into a really good life for you right now? Those are my questions. Um, and I think it's as curious as I am to hear, I think if this is an idea that interests you, it might be really great to take this question out on a walk or take it for a drive, take it to your journal, and just see for yourself, like what are the verbs that light you up? And if it looks like you're not getting as much of them as you'd like, how might you get more of them? Yeah, that's what this episode is today. I One of the reasons that we're late with this, that it's coming out later in the day on the Tuesday that it's dropping, which is the 14th of April, 2026, is that I had a fun idea drop into my head on my walk today, and it was to offer basically a workshop a month. And so I've spent the day kind of developing these workshops. They are gonna be showing up as I create links for them and stuff, registration links on the events page at my website. So that's klockculp.com/events. The link is in the show notes. And I've got this one up now. So there is officially a workshop that I'm offering. It'll be on the 27th of April. That's a Monday, in the evening Eastern time, called A Few of Your Favorite Verbs. And I want to do a deep dive into this with anyone who would like to, you know what I mean? If you'd like some support kind of discovering those verbs, talking them through, getting playful with them, then this might be a great workshop for you. And it's only the first one, friends. I was envisioning almost a mixtape of workshops today. There's this one, a few of your favorite verbs in May, and these are generally speaking the fourth Monday of the month, each month through November. But there's a couple of months where if that Monday's a holiday, it would be the one before, or so sometimes it'll be the second or the third Monday, but they're all Mondays, and most of them are the fourth Monday of the month. Um, a few of your favorite verbs is this month's, and then we've got that day you found yourself on an island is May's, and that's really commemorating a couple of things. One of them is May 2023 was the month that I solo hiked across northern England and became a through hiker who used to need a wheelchair. And the activity, the things that we'll be doing in that month's workshop, called that day you found yourself on an island, kind of references that a little bit, and some other things as well. So we'll talk about that in the workshop. And then I've got some creative workshops that I'm offering over the summer. I was envisioning some things, some playful things for spring, some creative stuff that's feels action oriented for summer. So I've got a creative workshop for anybody trying to create anything called Don't Overthink It in June. And then the July one is called Let's Go Outside. And then the August one is called Value, Clarity, and Perspective. And what I was enjoying about that is that those things, value, clarity, and perspective, come in really handy. They're kind of these great tools for if you want to be creating something, but there's kind of a double meaning there because they're also great for um, inner inner deep work, inner well-being, inner kind of thinking reflectively on ourselves. So that's what's coming up in August. In September, we have a workshop called What's Beyond Our Limits. When I was on my book tour back in 2024, that was one of the most fun events was one called What's Beyond Our Limits, and I'd like to bring it back for our September workshop. And then in October, we have 3 A's to feel alive, which it's so interesting because this has been, I mean, already in April, really starting in March, was when 3 A's to feel alive became a focus for well-being and curiosity about what it means for someone to feel alive. What does that even feel like? And what brings it about? What are the conditions that make it so that you feel alive, right? And then there's these interesting ways in that I've been playing with a lot. And by that point, I will have been playing with them even more. So I'm excited to bring you that workshop. So a couple of really kind of deeper reflections, also very playful because I can't help it with that. And then the last workshop of the year will be on the 16th of November. It's a Monday, as the others are, before Thanksgiving. And that workshop is called What Does December Need from Me? And What Do I Need from December? And I got to thinking about how the end of the year is a time of great pressure and expectation often. It can be a frustrating time. It can be a sad time. It can be hard on us. And so I thought, let's bring some care into how we approach and create, the end of the year for us. So that's what that one's going to be. And yeah, there it is, the roster for the year. I will be right now, even as I'm speaking, the first workshop is listed on my events page so that you can register there for it if it sounds interesting. You can certainly go there and find out more information about it and then register for it. If it sounds interesting, there's like a checkout, page. I've become a master of things like that. I'm very proud to say. And then over the coming days and weeks, I'll be getting up the other workshops so that you can see them. And that's where you can also find out more information about the retreat that I'm offering in September. September, I think it's 18th to the 23rd. It is a 6-day workshop up here in Maine on a beautiful lake called Sheepscot Pond, and the theme is Maine Camp Retreat. So if that sounds interesting to you, head along to my events page and you can read more about that. And in the meantime, just wishing you well. Glad you're here. Very excited because next week finally is the week that we get to start hearing from the Rebels for Peace. We will hear from Logan Griggs Mitchell next week in this space. So look out for it. Mark your calendars. And in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful week. Um, Lots of love to you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.